A red-furred monster sat squatting on the cold ground, looking messy and worn out, a snow elf trapped in its fist. The monster muttered in a low, threatening growl that even if the elf could revive, it would just keep killing her, until you can't crawl back to life anymore. Its grip tightened as if to prove the point. It didn't get the chance. An arrow suddenly cut through the air and punched right through the monster's hand. The creature let out a scream that bounced off the cave walls, dropping the elf in shock. The monster slowly turned toward the entrance. Lin Tian and his group stood ready. Leah, bow still raised, was clearly the one who had fired. The monster's voice echoed around them, demanding to know who the hell they were and how they dared walk into its territory. The snow elf trembled at the sound. Lin Tian didn't bother responding to the monster. Instead, he looked at the snow elf and flashed a small, almost casual smile, asking whether that was the guy she wanted him to deal with. If he took the monster out, she'd follow him, right? The elf nodded so fast it was almost frantic, just wanting someone who wouldn't treat her like the red-furred beast had. Right then, the monster finally spotted her perched on Leah's shoulder. Rage twisted its expression as it roared that the ungrateful worm dared to betray him after everything he'd done to raise her. And now she'd brought strangers here to settle scores? In the middle of his rant, his attention shifted, freezing for a second when he noticed the predator bird. Recognizing him, the monster tossed out a string of insults, mocking the bird's new metal wings and demanding to know where the old ones were, claiming he wanted to roast and eat them so nothing would go to waste. He laughed as he said it, asking why the bird looked so offended. Did those iron wings make him think he was untouchable? Because he'd broken them once, and he could break them again. The predator bird snapped back, shouting for him to shut up and getting ready to charge straight in, but Lin Tian held out an arm to stop him. Seeing Lin Tian step forward instead only made the monster laugh harder. The whole cave seemed to rumble with it as he mocked the bird for thinking he could win by hiring what he called that trash goblin. He even added that he didn't remember hitting the bird hard enough to break its brain. That was the last straw. Gabu Kwang roared with fury, firing up every magical artifact he had at once. A burst of blinding energy shot across the cave, multiple beams ripping through the monster's body. In a heartbeat, the creature's upper torso was torn apart, pieces blown everywhere. Even so, Lin Tian's group didn't relax. They knew well enough that taking down a monster like this was never that easy. The moment everyone expected finally happened. The snow around them suddenly pulled together, gathering like it had a mind of its own and rebuilding the snow monster from scratch. As its new body formed, a smug, taunting voice drifted through the cold air. It sounded almost amused as it claimed they were strong, but not strong enough, insisting their attacks barely counted as scratches. It bragged that in a place like this, where snow ruled everything, it couldn't die. Here, it declared, it was basically a god. By then, the creature's body had already finished regenerating. With a lazy flick of its hand, a blizzard whipped into existence, filling the cave in seconds. Snow came down so thick that vision disappeared entirely. Its laughter echoed from every direction, bouncing off the icy walls, impossible to track. It kept shouting that it was the strongest ruler, commanding them to die in its endless storm. Seeing the blizzard closing in, Alice instinctively lowered her stance, readying herself. But before the snow monster even managed to figure out where she was, its entire body was suddenly sliced apart, clean, fast, countless pieces. Alice had moved with effortless grace. She'd braced herself for a tough opponent with crazy high defense, but the moment her blade went through him, she realized it felt almost ridiculous, like cutting into a cake. No resistance. No weight. Farther away, the snow monster reformed again, this time with red fur and a face twisted in panic. It kept stuttering, unable to understand what had just happened or what that overwhelming pressure had been. Even with its ability to regenerate infinitely, its whole body trembled. Something deep in its soul screamed at it that it never wanted to feel that sensation again. Just then, Lin Tian cranked up the power of the Apollo heart. The cold around them evaporated instantly, turning into thin, trailing mist. In the distance, the snow monster's expression froze, this time in sheer horror. It sensed something deadly creeping up its spine. Before it could react, Gabuin, who had been invisible the entire time, locked onto it and didn't hesitate. His void dagger plunged forward, slicing right through the creature's chest and leaving a huge hole. The monster died again, barely even making a sound. Chaos spun through its thoughts. Who were these things? How was this happening in its own territory? Rage and fear tangled together as it screamed that this was its land and it was the ruler here. That was when the predatory bird finally leaped into action, calling out that it was its turn and claiming it would shred the creature a dozen times over. And it did. Even though the monster could revive endlessly, its body was fragile, and every death hurt. The raptor blurred across the ground like a streak of light, its wings sharp enough to carve through anything. Wind roared around it, nearly forming a tornado as it ripped through the monster again and again. Within moments, the creature had died dozens of times. Eventually, it broke. From within the snowstorm, its voice cracked as it begged for help, screaming that it couldn't take it anymore and calling them lunatic. It shouted for a one-on-one fight instead, clearly desperate. This time, it didn't revive immediately. The blizzard stopped. Its body collapsed into a heap of loose snow that dragged itself pitifully across the ground, terrified that one more death might break whatever was left of its sanity. Lin Tian finally stepped forward, calm as ever, saying the rest was his job. Tormenting the creature endlessly wouldn't kill it. He motioned for everyone to back away. Lin Tian pushed the Apollo heart way past its usual limit, cranking the output until it blasted past 1,000 degrees. The moment he did, a wave of fire roared out of him. It wasn't just hot, it exploded outward like a sudden sunburst, swallowing the snow monster in a single sweep. The frost covering the ground didn't even get the dignity of turning into puddles, it just flashed into steam with a violent hiss, filling the air with thick white fog. The ice around them practically blinked out of existence. The snow monster didn't fare any better. Its body sagged and slumped, melting into a formless pile. Even in that state, it somehow sensed Lin Tian moving closer. That creeping heat felt like something worse than injury, more like the promise of being erased completely. It panicked. "Don't come closer. I'll die. Seriously, stay away, I'm going to die." Its voice shook as it tried to pull itself back together while dragging itself across the ground. But in that half-melted state, it was painfully slow, limbs forming and collapsing as fast as it tried to crawl. Lin Tian stepped through the swirling clouds of steam, appearing almost calmly, like someone who already knew how this would end. He closed the distance with steady, unhurried steps, saying in a dry tone that he found the creature pretty interesting, and wondering out loud why else he'd have come all this way if not to kill it. The creature's panic spiked. It yelled that it had only caused a small misunderstanding, swearing none of this was worth killing over. It even tried to throw titles around, reminding Lin Tian that it was the Northern Lord and warning that the Demon King would be furious if anything happened to it. Lin Tian didn't react to any of it. He just rushed in. The heat hit the monster full force again. Its body sizzled loudly, like snow dropped onto burning metal. The creature's scream bounced off the cave walls, desperate and cracking. "Stop, stop. I'm melting," it wailed, as its face warped and drooped, features sliding downward like wax under a blowtorch. And it kept oozing apart, piece by piece, unable to hold itself together under the relentless heat closing in on it.